Welcome back to Leaders of Healthcare. And to start our video series off on books, I wanted to share a book that's very near and dear to my heart. And it's been a big driver, even the reason you're watching this video today, of many steps in my career. And I think it's highly relevant for professionals of all backgrounds, especially in healthcare, but any leaders of any kind. And the book is called The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. Now, you may know Steven Pressfield from his work in Gates of Fire, which actually got adapted to a movie called 300, which was about the Spartans. But in this video, and I think I'll do multiple videos about this because there's so much to unpack from this little book. But in this video, I'd like to kind of give you a brief synopsis and my take on how it can be relevant for you. So I'll read you two blurbs, but before we get to that, let me give you the brief overview. Steven Pressfield approaches the war of art as something in leaders saying that we're faced with something called resistance. And he believes, in his theory, is that resistance is this invisible force that keeps us from reaching our full potential as leaders. And so the question is, what is resistance and how do we overcome it? Now, what he suggests is this, that resistance and those who fall prey to it are essentially amateurs. How do you rise and defeat resistance and become a pro, as he calls it? Now, his simple theory is this, and this is what I wholeheartedly believe, is leaders essentially just keep showing up. They keep fighting. Resistance is essentially something that weakens us, tells us, hey, procrastinate, do this later, don't do this at all, you might fail. It puts all this fear in you to essentially hold you back from your true potential. So I'll read you a quick blurb on resistance, just to level set, and then we'll talk a little bit about some ongoing things. So the title of, in every single page is a new chapter, essentially. So the title of this chapter is called A Critter That Keeps Coming. Why does resistance yield to our turning pro? Because resistance is a bully. Resistance has no strength of its own. Its only power derives entirely from our fear of it. A bully will back down before the runtiest twerp who stands his ground. The essence of professionalism is the focus upon the work and its demands, while we are doing it, to the exclusion of all else. The ancient Spartans schooled themselves to regard any enemy, as nameless and faceless. In other words, they believed that if they did their work, no force on earth could stand against them. And so I talk about resistance, and we can take it in a lot of different directions, but essentially, this is a good physical reminder, especially, that there is a force that is holding you back. It's not just you. You know, when you're scared or you're fearful to take some or a controversial step that may drive your organization or yourself in a forward direction, or maybe patient care in a newer direction. This is a real thing. And I think the acknowledgement of leaders, it's to be vulnerable, to understand that, you know what, there is something that's holding you inherently back a little bit. But the professional keeps showing up. Again, think of the Spartan example, nameless, faceless, just keep pushing forward. That's what makes it a professional, makes you a professional. Now, to give you a very short blurb about a professional, this chapter is entitled, A Professional Acts in the Face of Fear. The amateur believes he must first overcome his fear, then he can do his work. The professional knows that fear can never be overcome. He knows that there is no such thing as a fearless warrior or a dread-free artist. What Henry Fonda does after puking into the toilet in his dressing room is to clean up and march out on stage. He's still terrified, but he forces himself forward in spite of his terror. He knows that once he gets out into the action, his fear will recede and he'll be okay. So the simple premise of the book is keep showing up. Doesn't matter if you're scared, you're tired, you want to cry it out, just keep showing up and you will overcome resistance. Because that's what resistance fears, is persistence. And so one of my favorite books, it's titled The War of Art, Break Through the Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles. But this highly transcends beyond creative battles. And really, any leader who's trying to do anything new will have resistance against them. Now, there's something else that I would like to go into very briefly, and hopefully it doesn't come across as too woo-woo, but he talks about the Muse. And I find this very interesting. And again, it's a theoretical concept. It's not spiritual or religious. But he talks about the Muse and what the Muse is. And we've all probably have felt that at some point in our lives, in various degrees, either professional or personal. The Muse is something that, obviously it's a theory. He says that it's something that kind of takes hold of the wheel. When you're trying to push forward on something that you're passionate about and you keep showing up, eventually something dawns upon you. Some inner energy gets unlocked. And that's what he terms the muse. The muse is, let's think of it in his perspective, as he calls it, writer's block, right? Writer's block is the resistance. It's saying, hey, I'm going to write the chapter of my book tomorrow. The muse, in this example, is when you sit down and your ideas start free flowing. You had a little bit of coffee or caffeine if you drink coffee, and the words just start spilling out onto the page. He terms this theory that some transparent abstract force, the muse, has taken control of the wheel and is helping you release your best potential. And we'll in future videos we'll talk about this book, and really so much to unpack, as with many other books. But I'd like to dawn upon you the concept of the muse, because I think my perspective for leaders is that although it helps you remind you that you're not alone, and you may have felt this in many avenues of your life, right? So maybe something as simple as going grocery shopping. You probably dreaded it. You made a list, but when you got there, something kind of took over and you said, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this hour in the grocery store. The muse has taken over. It's overcome your resistance to run a simple errand, but now you're kind of finding the enjoyment in it. So I bring up the muse in the context of healthcare leadership because it reminds you that something is there to help you. When you overcome resistance, something will come to help you. You're not alone in your journey. And I think that's very humbling, but also very inspiring to say, hey, you will have some sort of help that gets you over the finish line. And the muse is termed in this book as the muse. But you ask any major leader that has done something incredible in their life, and there is something to be said that, they basically set up all the right building blocks. They kept showing up, and then something just helped them get over the edge. Some will call it Lady Luck, for example. But everyone will attest to some degree of it. Now, again, I hope that's not too woo-woo, but I'll wrap up there. And then in future videos, we can go into the muse. Let me know in the comments if you kind of like talking about these concepts. One of the best books, and actually inspired me to start this YouTube channel. I'll wrap up the video again with that. But again, do get your copy of The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. I guarantee it's going to be something that sits on your desk for the rest of your life. Thank you.